you recently were actually kicked out of a congregation. Can you tell the viewers and listeners why? And
Yes, and I'm gonna be a little vague um about this. So if you're listening and you're like, why is he being vague? It's because I don't want to put specific churches on blast.
This episode of Nick Speaks is brought to you by the Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. At Columbus Restorative, every session is designed to restore balance to the body and mind. From easing stress and tension to supporting overall wellness, their team provides more than just a massage. It's a complete restorative experience. It's about truly restoring your body and mind so you can show up as your best self every single day. Whether you're stressed, sore, or simply need time to reset, their team knows exactly how to help you feel renewed. And listeners of the Nick Speaks podcast can enjoy 20% off their next visit by booking online and using the code SPEAKUP at checkout. That's SPEAKUP, SPEAKUP. Take time to recharge, renew, and restore with Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Now let's begin today's episode of Nick Speaks.
hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new installment of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nick Comstock. I am so glad you guys are joining me today. It is a great Tuesday, and I have a great guest with me as always. He's actually been on the show before. We'll get to him in just a little bit. But first of all, I have to thank Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio for sponsoring this episode. If you need a massage, if you just need to relax, you just need to chill, or if you just want to be bougie, go get a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio and use the promo code Speak Up to get 20% off. I want to thank them for sponsoring the Nick Speaks podcast and use that promo code because it's only available for a limited time only. Also, you guys, I want to let you know that we at Nick Speaks Podcast have reached 700 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for subscribing on YouTube. Make sure you hit that little notification bell so you can get notified when we upload new episodes. We drop new episodes every Tuesday at 7 a.m. You do not want to miss it. Now we're done with all the pesky show notes. We're going to get right into our incredible guest today. He was here in episode 9 at the time. It was one of our most popular episodes, and I am so glad to have mental health professional Roy Jones back on the program. Roy, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh my goodness, it's so good to be back here. Thank you for having me. Um, I'm doing well, staying busy as always in the mental health and disability community. So glad to hear how your podcast has grown. It's hard to believe that it was episode 9 that I was here on. So thanks for having me back.
Oh, absolutely. And there were a lot of people in your community and in mine that really enjoyed your episode. So I knew that we needed to have you back. And next time, hopefully it won't be so long, but I am glad that you decided to join me again on this Tuesday. And so, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to since the last time you were here? And maybe for those that are new, because I just said we got a bunch of new subscribers, tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do. And then I'll ask you some questions and we'll have a good time.
Sure. So, I am Roy. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I am a mental health and disability advocate. I myself have spastic diplegia cerebral palsy. It affects mainly my legs and the left side of my body. I spend a lot of time trying to break the stigma around mental health and disabilities. I have a website. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as well. Currently, I am serving as a volunteer lead group facilitator for a local mental health hospital. I lead support groups for peers and just provide support where I can.
That's awesome. That's great. The first question I have for you, there are physical disabilities and there are mental disabilities, and then there are some that have mental health issues on top of physical disability issues. Do you feel that those that have mental health issues on top of their physical issues, do you feel like they are somehow treated worse because of their mental health? How do you see the treatment between just somebody who has a physical disability versus somebody who has a mental health issue and a physical disability? Is the treatment vastly different?
That's a good question. No, I don't. I wouldn't say, at least in my experience and what I've seen, I feel like you know your whether you have a mental health or disability, like physical disability, I feel like there's that stigma. People don't want to interact with you, or they're afraid that they might catch something from you. Um, but I wouldn't say that there's much of a difference.
There's much of a difference. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. So, what is the thing that you try to bring mostly to those who struggle with mental health, because you're a mental health volunteer? So can you talk to us about um some of your mental health struggles and how you use that to help those that you are responsible to guide and help through their mental health journey?
Well, the biggest thing that I provide is a listening ear. The the issue is that a lot of people don't have people that they can come to and talk about their struggles. They can't go to their families because they don't feel comfortable, or maybe their family members are part of the reason they struggle with mental illness. I know for me, when I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression in 2007, I felt alone. And my family, specifically my grandmother, in their time, they didn't talk about mental health. They
Mm.
kind of swept it under the rug. And I think I might have mentioned that the last time I was here. So I guess to circle back, I provide a listening ear and validation, and um, that's just the biggest thing, is just being a listening ear. Sometimes people don't want advice. If they want advice, I'll give it to them, but a lot of times they just want somewhere that they can vent.
Yeah, they just want to be heard and they just want to be seen. And a lot of times, people who struggle with mental health don't get that. We get that we're attention seekers, and you know, just trying to get the spotlight on us when we're really struggling with mental health, and we just really need somebody to listen to what we're going through. I want to say something. I want to bring something up that you brought up. You said a lot of people may not be able to talk to their families about their mental health. And I know from firsthand experience that this is exactly the truth, because when I was 15 years old, I was struggling with debilitating depression. And my father was not very compassionate. That's the mild way of putting it. I remember being in my house at the age of 15. I was sitting at a dinner table on a Wednesday night and I was just weeping. And, my mom was trying to talk to me. I wasn't interested in talking to her. My dad came in. He was working on my van at the time. We were having some issues. And I remember it's crazy the things that you remember. I remember a red book being on the kitchen table, and I can't read anyway. I'm legally blind, and I remember my dad coming in, and I remember me picking up that book, trying to ignore the fact that he was there because I did not want to talk to him about it. And long story short, he forced me into talking to him about it because he said, if you don't talk to me about it, I'm going to take you out of the chair and I'm going to corporal punish you, which, and so I was kind of forced into talking about it. And I said, I'm depressed. And for what felt like for me 5 hours, which probably was only like 2.5, my dad was just like, well, you shouldn't be depressed. You're not mentally, the exact words he used was, you're not mentally retarded. You shouldn't be depressed. And he just kept hammering that. And I remember that night saying, I'm just going to bottle everything up and not talk to anybody about it because who knows? They might have the same aspect. They might have the same perspective as my dad, and you saying that they swept it under the rug, especially with the Christian culture that I grew up in. You're right. They didn't talk about mental health. They just assumed that if you read the Bible, your mental health was going to be good, and reading the Bible is good. But just like God has provided, medication for other things, I believe He's provided um, medication for mental health. And I just want to know what you think about the church's stigma towards mental health, and what do you say to families who have struggles with mental health but don't really want to allow their families to open up to them about it, or their family members?
Um, so yeah, I mean the church still has a huge stigma, especially like the older style of churches. Um, there's still a huge stigma around it. It's their answer is just pray more. Pray more and it'll go away. Um, and I think that's absolutely absurd. I think that, whether you're, an, order style church or, I don't really want to put denominations with it. Whether you're order or you're a more modern church, I think there needs to be a safe place to talk about mental health, and we need to realize that no matter how much we pray, mental health is still going to be there, right? Like it, praying is great, but it's still going to be there, and we still need to be able to have a safe place to talk about these things. And our spiritual leaders, if you ask me, I think our spiritual leaders need to go through a training called mental health first aid. I know I am a certified mental health first aider for both youth and adults.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a great certification to have. And I think our spiritual leaders need to actually take that certification. As for what I would say to families is that you're not alone. And please reach out for help. And if your spiritual leaders aren't willing to help you and they're kind of shutting you down, I really want you to stop and think, is this a church that I want to continue going to? You know, and if you keep coming back to the answer is no, then find another one. You know,
Yeah.
because there are churches out there that do support mental health. They have mental health support, support groups, um, or some of them will call them life groups. So, but reach out and know that you're not alone.
What do you think it would do for the church if church leaders said, okay, I'm going to take the course that Roy is talking about? What do you think it would do for them as number one church leaders and just as a church as a whole?
I think if they were to go and take that certification, it would be an eye-opening experience for them. I think it would give them tools to be able to notice when someone is headed towards a mental health crisis or maybe is in a mental health crisis. It would teach them how to start that conversation, teach them how to handle certain situations. I think it would just provide a lot of knowledge and and be a step towards breaking the stigma on mental health.
Yeah, and I think it would help a lot of pastors. I think the reason a lot of pastors burn out and end up resigning and end up doing crazy things is because their mental health is not checked. And I think because many pastors are so used to having the leadership role, and some of them are so used to having, unlimited amounts of power, that they're like, my mental health doesn't need checked. you know Mental health, that's a double term. We don't need mental health. And so I feel like some pastors just go um crazy just because their mental health was out of check. And I believe some pastors need to be on some, I'm not a doctor, I'll say that, but I think it would help them to be on some medication because some of these pastors go crazy.
Well, I don't know if I would say medication, but they need to be able to have someone that they can talk to um, about the things that they hear, the things that they're dealing with, because our pastors carry a lot of weight. Um,
Yeah.
they miss a lot of time with their families. They don't get to enjoy their child's football games, their basketball games, their soccer games, all those curricular activities because they're busy dealing with church related things and trying to help their congregation. At least at least good pastors. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they invest their time into their church, and so I think that they at least need to have someone that they can talk to, a professional. You know,
Yeah. And for a lot of pastors, that would have to involve
yeah,
swallowing pride to
yeah.
say, I need help. And I don't care where I am on the world stage. I need help. And this is what I'm going to do to get it. And if you don't want me to be your pastor because I say I need mental help, then bye bye.
You know,
Um,
and I do think that a lot of them are afraid to come forward about their mental health because maybe they feel like they're going to be judged. But and I won't mention names of churches, but I will tell you that there is a church out there where the lead pastor at the time was very open. He said, I'm struggling with my own mental health, and he was very open about it. And I think the majority of us were understanding, and he was able to take a extended sabbatical. So I really, for the pastors that are willing to come forward, kudos, man. That
Yeah.
speaks that speaks volume about your character. So kudos.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And it also opens the door for your church members to say, well, if my leader can get up and say, I struggle with mental health, it doesn't make them feel like they're committing a sin when they say it. And so kudos to that pastor. And I hope that church is doing well now. Speaking of the church, I want to move on to a totally different topic because you recently were actually kicked out of a congregation. Can you tell the viewers and listeners why and that whole shebang?
Yes, and I'm gonna be a little vague about this. So if you're listening and you're like, why is he being vague? It's because I don't want to put specific churches on blast. I'm not, that's not what I'm about. I'm just kind of sharing my experience.
Sure.
So yes, I was asked, well, I was actually, let me go back here. So I was at a church and there was an individual at the church that was struggling with mental health and whatnot. And let's just say the pastor was not very friendly towards her. And some of his actions were very inappropriate. And I stood up to the pastor and I told him that his actions weren't appropriate. He was even planning on taking this individual in front of the church and essentially embarrassing them. And I told the pastor, if you do this, you and I are going to have a problem together because this is traumatic to anybody dealing with mental health challenge. So we had a huge argument where he told me maybe I shouldn't come back. And it was this year, about a week before Easter, that we had a conversation. We ended up on good terms, and he welcomed me back to visit and all that fun stuff. So I went back the week after Easter to visit, and I thought everything was good and really enjoyed the message that day. And, a lot of people said hi and, oh, love you, Roy, this and that. And I didn't make it back the following week. I can't remember why. I think I had something going on. Well, I got a call later that Sunday, the week that I didn't go back, and was specifically told, hey, we just wanted to let you know that you are no longer welcome at our church. You are no longer welcome at our Bible studies, any of our events, or anywhere on our property. And even though even though I told the individual, hey, I've spoken to so and so, are you aware of that? Like, things were, worked out and whatnot. They said it doesn't matter. Our board voted that you're no longer welcome. And that was the end of it. And when I reached out to the pastor about it, because he wasn't there during their board meeting. He was sick that week is what they said. Whether if he was or if he wasn't, I don't know. But they said he was only one vote and his vote wouldn't have mattered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I was just completely. When I got the call, I was completely in shock. I was like, "What?" Like I had never been kicked out of a church ever. So when I reached out to the pastor after that phone call from another individual, I said, "Were you aware of this?" And his response was, "Well, I was aware of the board meeting and I was aware of the subject matter, but that's all I know." Um, and I asked that pastor to follow up with me after he was feeling better, so that we could talk about this. And I have yet to hear from him, and that was in April.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
um,
So how did that make you feel? Like what did that do to your mental health? Like
I was completely in shock. I was devastated, and ultimately the reason I was kicked out was because I stood up for what was right. And I don't regret standing up for what was right. I don't regret that one bit. Um, I I was devastated because I'm like, how do you get kicked out of a church? I'd never heard of that before. Like, a church is supposed to be a loving place where all are welcome, and a church is a hospital for people who are spiritually ill or sick. If we're looking at it in terms of a hospital, right?
yeah.
And so anybody should be welcome and uh, shouldn't be turned away. The other thing that was devastating to me was I had made a lot of friendships, relationships, and I was just like devastated because even though, people reached out to me and were ultimately in shock, they didn't stand up for they didn't stand up for me and be like, this is unacceptable, Um
Yeah.
and there are a couple things that I've learned. Um is one, I don't I don't believe that was a church, a quote unquote church. I You can almost look at it as a club, you know.
Yeah.
And I say, or you can say a cult even. Um, and I learned that like after talking to other pastors and people I know, like a church, a actual church would never just kick somebody out. I've even talked to other churches in the same denomination, and they're just like, wait, what? Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, I was completely devastated. But the other way I look at it as, you know, that's God's way of saying, you know, that season of your life is done. You know,
Or yeah,
you went there, you learned things that I needed you to see, and now your time there is done.
yeah,
I don't regret going there at all. I really don't. I don't regret it at all. I learned a lot. It brought me out of my comfort zone and all kinds of things. I'm just sad that it ended the way that it ended. But you know, if it's God's will, it's God's will.
yeah. Did the person you were trying to help at that church reach out to you and say, "Hey, Roy, what's going on?"
No, because they were no longer at that church. Yeah, they were no longer at that church either. And you know, ironically, Nick, I'm not the first person that's been kicked out of that church. I'm not the first person that has come forward and spoke up about certain behaviors, and then been kicked out. So,
Wow.
you know,
Wow. Well, that's just really sad. And I'm going to give my own take on that. I don't know if I've really shared this with you, but I, I think not only did the pastor know that that board meeting was about you, I think he wanted them to tell you that he didn't have a vote so that it wouldn't look bad on him.
exactly. And you know, and that's one thing that I've always thought is like, why invite me back? Why invite me to come visit if, you know, I'm gonna get kicked out? You know,
Well, I
what?
think that was part of the setup.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, I agree. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, and you know, one of the things that I felt during that time was I didn't want to go back into any church. Um,
Yeah.
I had no desire to even go back into any church, and I didn't for several weeks. I did not go into any church, but I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let that situation keep me away from you know, worshiping the Lord and going to surround myself with other believers. You know, the Bible tells us not to forsake assembling, you know, with other believers, um, because you know belief comes by hearing, right? And so you need to be you need to be surrounded by other believers. And just because one pastor doesn't act appropriately, or just because one church does shady things or has shady practices, they're not all bad. You know, they're not all bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of, I'm really glad that you said that. I'm kind of going through the same thing right now. I wasn't kicked out of church. I willingly left a cult. And for those of you who want to find out about it, I'm not afraid to mention names because what are they gonna do? Take away my birthday? Uh I left World Harvest in Columbus back in June. And for those of you who want to find out why, you can visit the Megamaniacs podcast, which Roy, I just realized I didn't send you my episode. I will. You can visit the Megamaniacs podcast to figure out why I left World Harvest back in June. I was on that show July 22nd, 2025. So you can figure out why. But one of the reasons why I left, and I'll state it here, is because the church just didn't want to get me involved. And I wanted to do things in their media department. And, I wanted to get close with the pastor, and they were just like, no. They wanted me to be a greeter and hold up a ginormous sign and be a greeter. And I can barely hold my phone sometimes without dropping it, let alone a ginormous sign. And also, too, they said, Nick, be a greeter, but yet they wouldn't allow. There was another member that was a greeter there for 30 years and got really sick, came back to greet, and they told him because he couldn't stand up to greet that it looked bad on the church if he was going to sit down and greet. So because he couldn't stand up and be a greeter, he couldn't be a greeter anymore. But yet they wanted me to sit down in a wheelchair and hold up a big ass sign that said, "Welcome to World Harvest." No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much contradiction, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, man, just yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense why, why a person can't have a seat to greet, but yet they wanted you to hold up a sign. I don't know. So many thoughts and red flags go off there. Just crazy.
Yeah.
I do know the church that you speak of, and I'm glad you left. I've been there once or twice, and yeah, it just did not feel very welcoming to me.
Yeah.
But I think that happens a lot with like the big mega churches, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's necessarily just World Harvest. I think that happens with a lot of mega churches. Now, I can say that where I've gone to church, wherever I want to get involved, all I gotta do is just speak up, and they're welcome. They're very loving, and they've been with me through a lot of good and the bad. They understood, you know, uh, that God called me away for some time, and they've never looked at me any different. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that I really struggled with as far as church, because it's not just World Harvest. I've been a part of other ministries to where they just, I don't know. It's like people with disabilities are foreign language,
yes, yeah.
and it's like they don't know what to do with our community. And what
And
can churches do to get people with disabilities more involved?
be open to having people with disabilities involved. Stop seeing us as just someone in a wheelchair. Um, and start seeing us for what we can, what we have to offer. Um, the wheelchair is not who I am. It's just how I get around. It's
Yeah.
it's my transportation, but it doesn't make me who I am.
Right. Right. I struggle a lot with people with disabilities who say, my disability is who I am. And then they say, but don't treat me as if I have a disability. You can't have that both ways.
Yeah, it the mindset, or at least mine, is again, the wheelchair is not who I am. It's just a tool for how I get around. And as far as accessibility goes, you know, my wheelchair is not the problem. It's it's society's lack of lack of accessibility and being willing to want to, you know, create the accessibility.
Yeah.
But your disability is not who you are. It's not.
Same thing with sexuality. Your sexuality is not who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's opening another can of worms. I know I'll get people, my sexuality is who I no, it's not. I don't agree with that. Sorry. Um, you're so much more than a disability, you know, coming from that standpoint. You know, I I love music. Um, I just happen to be in a wheelchair. I love to eat. I just happen to be in a wheelchair. It doesn't My wheelchair does not describe everything who I am, and neither does anyone's sexuality. You know, um, people freak out because they say Trump's trying to destroy who I am. No, he's not. Nobody.
Yeah,
No,
I oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I I tend to stay away from um political topics and political views because of the environment that I serve.
Yeah,
And regardless of that, even no matter what side you're on, you're always wrong to somebody, right? And I've I've seen friendships lost, like 30, 40-year friendships lost over political beliefs. I've seen families disown one another because of who they voted for or who they didn't vote for. You know, so I have just learned to stay away from
stay
political
away from
topics. Yep.
politics.
Hmm.
But I will ask you this question though. Are you worried about, you know, a lot of people say the current administration is doing severe damage to Medicaid. We're going to be all institutionalized again. Does that worry you?
Yes, I mean, I do have some concerns about it, but I also try to remember that at the end of the day, God is in control. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there is a part of me that is concerned about the direction that we're headed.
For people with disabilities.
For people with disabilities, people who need mental health treatment, and yeah, I mean, I have a lot of concerns about that. But as I said, at the end of the day, God is in control, and I'm all about focusing on the things I can control and putting aside the things that I can't.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I
absolutely.
mean, no, I mean, there are things that we can continue to advocate for, right? Like, I'm not gonna stop advocating for individuals that need mental health care. Um, you know, people that need housing, uh, people that need medical care and can't get it. I'm not gonna stop advocating for those individuals.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about that before we came on air. Can you tell us a little bit of the struggle that you're having with getting people housing?
Yeah, so the the issue right now with housing is that we don't have enough housing available. And the wait lists are so long, if you can even get on a wait list. For example, here in Ohio, we have something called Section 8, and the wait list is so long for Section 8 that you can't even get on it. And because of the lack of housing, they're not even giving out vouchers for the year 2025, is my understanding when I spoke to an individual at Section 8 a while back. And vouchers, for those that don't know, it's basically they give you a voucher and it's valued at a certain amount, right? So you can put that towards your rent, but it has to be, you have to go to a Section 8 landlord or provider. And then, you know, what, then you would pay anything extra. Like, like you would give them this voucher and then it would be worth a certain amount. And then if your rent was above that, you would pay the difference.
So why do you think that we're having such a housing crisis right now for affordable housing?
Well, I think Columbus has grown so much. I Columbus has just expanded, and I think obviously there's more houses, or there's more people than there are houses. Um, and I think that the cost of rent right now is so high. And so when you do find something you can afford, you try to stay there as long as you can.
Yeah.
And I think there's the other part of that is there's probably people on Section 8 or other affordable housing that don't need to be, that are abusing the system. And
Sure.
in turn, because of that, it's impacting those that really do need the help.
Yeah. What do you think our local officials should be doing to help improve the housing?
I'm not really sure what the answer is. I mean, I'm kind of curious on your thoughts, if you have any thoughts on that, but I don't really have an answer for it, to be honest.
Well, I wish that there was a way, because public housing, I'm in that program right now. I mean, it's not in the best neighborhoods. I mean, I'm in an okay neighborhood. I really haven't had any problems here. But if I just go a few steps over to East Livingston, that's where a lot of gun violence happens. That's where a lot of drug trafficking happens. If there was some way where we could put affordable housing in our nicer neighborhoods, uh especially when it comes to the most vulnerable, like the elderly and the disabled, um I think the housing needs to be more like the SNAP program, where you have to work in order to be on the program. You can't. Now, if there are some instances where you can't work, obviously, then that needs to be approved by a doctor stating that this person can't work and these are the reasons why he or she is on this program. But I feel like that would help some of the congested problems with the housing. What do you think?
Yeah, I do agree that, some of the affordable housing needs to be moved to nicer areas. And funny that you mentioned that, because I was reading I was on social media and I was reading a article where there is affordable housing being built in a nicer area. And I was reading the comments from some of those people in the nicer areas, and they were complaining because they said, well, now you're just going to bring all the riffraff to our neighborhood, and we don't want it here. And it really disappointed me, right? Because not everybody that's in
Unaffordable housing is.
is creating riffraff. Like, they're honest people, just honest people. Not everyone is creating riffraff, but be, there's a stigma that if you're on affordable housing, you must be creating riffraff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm sure there's a better way. I mean, affordable housing to do stronger background checks and say, if
Well,
you have, yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, I mean, I guess when you say stronger background checks, I mean, what more? I mean, because I believe they already run like your standard background checks, like criminal records and things like that. So, what are some ideas that you have of stronger background checks?
Well, I mean, do they do drug testing? I mean,
I don't think so. No, that could be, that could be something. Because I know at one point I thought they were considering drug testing for SNAP.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're going to do drug testing, I would require hair follicle test because I've heard that if you do drugs, it stays in your hair like 6 months longer.
Or longer. I mean, yeah, or longer.
So I'm ready to cut some hair follicles if you need. I wouldn't do well with a pee test, but I'd do well with a hair follicle test.
Yeah, I mean, for the work that I do, I have to do drug tests. I mean, I can't be in a mental health facility, providing support. If I'm drugged up. I do drug tests. They actually have done mouth swabs, um, which I think are better than urine tests, because you can take fake urine and pass a drug test.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You learn something new every week on Nick Speaks. I had no idea that there was fake urine out there.
Yeah, yeah, there is. I mean, I've never had to use it because I have nothing to worry about. Not only that, I'm in a wheelchair. Like, it's hard enough to use the restroom, you know, being in a wheelchair, let alone trying to do it with fake urine.
Well, here's the thing too. Back to having a conversation about, the niceness of um affordable housing. It's almost like a lot of people without disabilities feel like people with disabilities should not have nice things, nice neighborhoods,
Yeah,
nice items, that if since we're giving such a poor wage, then we should automatically just have a poor lifestyle.
yeah.
And
Like,
that's just not fair either.
yeah, like you're not entitled to like go out and have a nice dinner, or be able to buy a luxury item. Like, if you wanted to buy a steak once in a while on Snap, you know,
Yeah. Well,
what?
I only get $63 a month. So
Right.
happening.
Right. But I mean, like you said, people think that just, that you're not entitled to that, and we're just normal people, just normal people. I remember, and I can't remember if I shared this back on episode 9 or not. But I remember going to a restaurant one time and someone saying that it was after I came in and I got seated, but they were making a smart comment about people with disabilities and in wheelchairs should be institutionalized. And I was like, what? Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because I guess we're not meant to be seen in society.
I
you know?
guess. Well, guess what? We're here. I'm not going anywhere. So deal with that.
I'm not going anywhere until the good Lord takes me home.
I'm not either. So here we are. We're here to stay. What?
and
Go ahead.
and if the rapture happens, this wheelchair will be left unattended.
It'll be so great. That's going to be so awesome too. What? Speaking of SNAP and the new rules, some of the new rules that they have. What do you think about the rules that have been in place that you can't buy pop, you can't buy chips, you can't buy? What do you think about those new rules?
So I can't speak a whole lot on them because I haven't read them all in detail. I've heard mixed things. I've heard that um, that there's just going to be a limit on um how much you can buy. I've heard that you're not going to be able to buy anything at all like that. And if that's the case, um, I don't agree with that, right? I don't. People are struggling enough, and if they want to have a snack, if they want to have a bag of chips, if they want to have a can of pop, so be it. They're already struggling enough. Why are we making it worse? The other part of that is, a lot of these, a lot of the people on food stamps actually or SNAP, they do work. Not everybody that's on SNAP is, unemployed. But a lot of our parents, like mothers and fathers, use that to help buy Christmas dinner, Easter dinner, to buy their child a cake for their birthday. I don't think that we should ban these things entirely. Do I think we should maybe put limits on how much pop somebody can buy? Yeah, maybe so. Because I've seen people go out and buy, 5, 6 cases of pop, at one time. So, do I think we should put limits? Probably so. Do I think we should ban them all, all together? Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna say we don't want you to buy junk, maybe, I mean, we should allow our stores, we should allow the selling of prepared food, because
Yeah.
a lot of these places like Costco, Walmart, um
Hmm.
what's another, Kroger, they have prepared food, Sam's Club. But here in Ohio, I can't buy prepared food with my food stamps because it's hot food. So the rule is the food has to be heated up in order. You have to go home and heat it up in order for it to be bought. It can't be hot food.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know that there's like Walmart has like a deli area with some
Hot bar, yeah.
yeah, and some of those will go through on EBT. I know that because I've actually seen it done. But I mean, to what you're saying, yes. I mean, I think that one, if you're gonna put these restrictions, let's make the healthy food more affordable for one thing.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, let's make it possible to get more of the prepared food because, okay, like for me, it's hard to cook in a wheelchair, right?
Yep.
Like
Hmm.
my environment and the way it's set up, I don't, I have a hard time using the stove safely, right? So a lot of times, I'll eat a frozen meal. Now, I mean, I do try to find the meals that are healthier, and my doctor has helped me with that. Um, but that's one of the things that I heard on the restrictions, and Nick, you might know more, is that they're wanting to take away the ability to get, frozen meals on SNAP or EBT, and I don't agree with that either because yeah, I mean, if they're gonna put these restrictions on things, they really need to think about, you know, think
The
about the
lives they're
people.
affecting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I don't think that they're not thinking clearly before they make these changes. They're only looking at how can we save money, not the lives that we're impacting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's difficult to cook. And I have 100% of my staff is from another country, and not all of them know how to cook. And
No.
so I eat out probably 60% of the time, maybe more, just because they don't know how to cook.
Mhm.
And not only that, I only get $63 a month. What can you buy with?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, now the cost of groceries are coming down, but it's still expensive. And you are right. A lot of the the caregivers and the DSPs or direct support professionals, they don't know how to cook, and it's because they are from another country. Now, on the flip side of that, when I had staff, I learned to like a lot more different foods
Yeah.
because I would encourage them to make me some food from their country. Let me try some of their food, and I tell you what, it's pretty good. You know.
Yeah. Jollof is one of my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
Jollof rice with fried chicken, and I love fried plantains. Fried plantains is, but I will
And
tell you, I mean, African food is. You think American food is expensive?
yeah.
God,
Yeah.
African food is tons more.
Talk about trying a different food, and then um, we'll get back on, the topics of stuff. I tried, one of my drivers one time, um, he, is Somali, and he was like, I want you to try some Somali food. So I'm like, okay. I like trying different foods. So he brought me something, and it was goat meat. I absolutely do not like goat meat. No way, no how, um, no way, can't do it. And we'll probably never try goat meat again. So I don't know if you've ever had it, Nick, but
I like it, but I didn't like the smell of it.
yeah, that like you had goat meat.
Yes.
Oh, oh, yeah. The smell of it's not great either.
Just
And
no, thank you.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna make these rules for food stamps and other, we need to have a better alternative.
Hmm.
If you're gonna say you can't buy chips, which first of all, I'm a huge chip person. I love potato chips, and I could sit here and list all the ones that I love: Cheddar Ruffles, Pringles. I hope all of you are listening to sponsor me. Um, Cheetos, hot chips. Just I love all the junk food that we say we're not supposed to love, but at the same time, I mean, if you're gonna make those rules, you gotta come up with something different,
Hmm.
a better option than just to say, "Oh, well, you can't have that."
Yeah.
Because if a frozen pizza is all somebody can cook, and then you take that away from them, you're taking nutrition out of their body.
Yeah. If you're gonna take something, we gotta add something. And again, it goes back to I say don't take everything away, but maybe add things in moderation, right? Like put limits on things. You can buy X number of cases of pop. You can buy X number of items in a snack category. Things like that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts if they were to put like limitations on the amount of quote unquote junk food?
Well, first of all, we would have to determine what junk food really is.
Right.
I mean, if we're going to start looking at people's food stamps statements and say, "Oh, well, all I see is 6 cases of pop and you know 3 boxes of zebra cakes and 3 boxes of Nutty Buddy bars." I mean, if that's all they're buying, then yeah, there needs to be. I mean, you're first of all, you're going to become an automatic diabetic. Uh, I mean, but if they're buying things like, you know, TV dinners or frozen pizzas, and they're throwing in a bag of chips for their kids once in a while, or mac and cheese or hot dogs, then you can't. But if all they're buying is then the junk food, which is what I just mentioned a while back, then obviously, uh, I would say that because it's coming from the government and the taxpayers, they have a right to say, we're not paying we're not paying for you just to sit around and eat zebra cakes.
Yeah.
You
Not
know?
to me, I consider junk food to be, chips,
Yep.
chips, zebra cakes, or any type of thing like that, or um, yeah. I mean, you get my drift, like chips and snack cakes and cookies and all that stuff is junk. Yes. Um, you know, but yeah, I just think there needs to be a limitation. My other concern with locking, or blocking being able to purchase pop and junk food is, what about someone who is diabetic? What about someone who is elderly? And um, you know, if your sugar drops, you've got to be able to eat something sweet to bring it up. I mean, you've got to be able to have a can of pop, or maybe a cookie or something. Granted, peanut butter crackers will sustain you longer than a cookie will, but um, you've got to be able to have something to bring it up in a hurry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly do. And so you've got to take those into consideration too, and Congress just we've got to get to a point where Congress cannot just say, okay, we're going to get rid of this and this is why. You have to have something to replace it. You have to
And
have something to replace it.
we need to have more seats at the table in Congress for people like you and myself who can bring these things up, because I guarantee you they're not thinking about the things that we are. Guarantee it.
Oh, no, they're not. And of course, people have told me for years, Nick, you need to run for office. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to be a part of that dog and pony show over there, you know. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more, I'm starting to sway that way because, people with disabilities, we're not going to see dramatic changes until people like us get in office and say, yeah, I get the fact that you don't want people buying 6 boxes of zebra cakes and 6 cases of soda and 4 frozen pizzas. But let's also look at their demographics. Let's see what they're dealing with. Do they have staff are we giving them enough money to get the food that they should be eating?
Mm-hmm.
Are we allowing them to buy prepared food? Like there's been some talks about restaurants taking food stamps, and I honestly, that would be great for me.
I think I believe it's in Cali, California. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that my PCA that I have right now, I just have a part-time PCA. I'm pretty sure that she was telling me in California they accept food stamps at like McDonald's
Yeah.
and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I would be okay with that if someone wanted to use their SNAP to purchase a cooked meal at a restaurant. Um, you know, I don't get many since my grandmother passed away. It's not very often that I have a cooked meal, right? Like
Yeah.
on Sundays, it used to be the thing, go to grandma's on Sundays and have Sunday dinner, and
Yeah.
it's not often that I get a cooked meal. And so, I mean, sometimes eating out is the way to get that.
And it's a real struggle because you're like, I just had this restaurant a couple days ago, and
Yeah. I mean, you can only eat like Chick-fil-A so many times in a month, or, you know.
oh, don't piss off the Chick-fil-A fan. That's the Lord's pick, Roy. Ah, don't piss them off. Good Lord. I mean, it would help us if you were open on Sunday, Chick-fil-A. I'll tell you that right now. But
But I mean, I do like Chick-fil-A, but sometimes you just need something different.
yeah, you do. You do. And it would help if different places like DoorDash would take, the food stamps too. Or oh, yeah.
So they actually do take food stamps. Through, I saw it was Dashmart, through their Dashmart.
Yeah.
They do. And Amazon takes Snap now. So for those that
Things, yeah.
yeah. And for those that are listening, if you're on Medicaid or Snap, you can get your Amazon Prime half off. You can get a 50% discount. So if that helps anybody, you can get that.
Wow, Roy. Well, we've been talking for a little bit over an hour now since we started, and so I want to wrap it up. And what are some things that you want people to know? Where can people find you? How can they contact you? And what are you hoping that people are going to get from this episode?
Okay, so where you can contact me, the best place to contact me is via my website, Roy Jones on Wheels. I'll spell that out. ROYJONES on Wheels, ONWHEELS.com. That's the main place to find me. You can also find me on Facebook at Roy Jones on Wheels, Instagram Roy Jones on Wheels, and TikTok Roy Jones on Wheels. I need to actually get back to posting more on Facebook and Instagram. I used to do daily morning motivational videos, but I needed to take a break. But I need to get back into that. And so I do encourage you to check me out. And if there's anything that I can do for you as far as advocacy or getting you connected with resources, reach out. I'd be happy to help out with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Roy is a great guy, and you'll love watching his stuff. And you need to get back on TikTok too. I don't think TikTok is going anywhere now. So
I know. I just was telling somebody the other day I needed to get back on TikTok. Yeah. It's just my schedule is so busy right now, and there's only so many hours in a day,
that
and
yeah.
and I need to be able to sleep for at least 6 of those.
Yeah, well, I don't get much sleep. If I can sleep 3 hours, I'm good. 3 or 4 hours. And then because sometimes I have terrible insomnia and all that type of stuff. Well, Roy, thanks for being here today, man. It was awesome. And you guys check out Roy on all of his platforms. We'll have everything in the show notes that you can check out. And I want to thank Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio for again sponsoring this episode. And remember, you can get 20% off your massage if you go to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio's website. There'll also be in the show notes. You can get 20% off your massage when you use the code Speak Up. Remember, it's for a limited time only, so get this deal while it lasts. Also, you guys, I want to remind you that I did write a book, or at least a chapter of a book, back in April. It's been out. It's called Trailblazing and Transforming Entrepreneurial Stories of People with Disabilities. You can get it in paperback and on your Kindle devices. Go to Amazon right now and get it. I wrote chapter 5 called Breaking the Mold, probably because people in wheelchairs break things like walls and doors. So that was a perfect title for me. But anyway, check that book out. And this is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. This podcast is dedicated to the disabled community. I will see you next week. Thanks for being here today, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.